Oh golly gosh, right. It's a friendly, don't worry, it's a friendly. This is not the final. It's a different thing. Cheeky pre-final friendly between Kup and Tahn. You know, they're up for it, I'm up for it. Let's see what happens here. I'm keen for this. So Kupermeister is going to be playing random. Tahn is of course Zerg, and we are on one of the maps that is in the map pool. So let's see what we've got. Looks like Kupermeister is Terran in the top right, and Tahn is going to be our Zerg in the bottom left. Let's get that production tab up and going. Let's get the names on the top and all of those types of cool things. I don't have because I'm observing on the EMS account, I think I don't have the like WCS overlay, so I don't get like all the cool info across the bottom. I've just got the standard sort of StarCraft view here. But let's see what's going to happen. So Kup, of course, is going to wall off the top of his ramp. You know, which Terran players, please always, just always against Zerg, never don't wall off the top of your ramp against Zerg. I mean, you might elect to wall off down here, but if you are going to do that, you've got to be, you know, you've got to scout, because if they're really going for it, the Lings can arrive before you would have normally completed this wall. But if you know, if you start an SCV build in the depot and you go and scout, you'll know that it's coming, and you'll be able to send another SCV down to build a second barracks and complete the wall off much sooner than it would normally be completed. But I think honestly, you know, most of the time this is probably the better option. So Kupermeister is going to come across the map. He's going to do a little bit of scouting. Inside and out is it's not that big a map. It's not like you wouldn't necessarily say it's a small. It's about an average map. I'd say maybe on the small side, but that's kind of a feel more than I haven't really looked at it in too much detail. But yeah, there are certainly, in the current map pool, there are certainly some maps that are much smaller than this, and there's certainly maps that are much bigger than this. So yeah, it's somewhere in between. Wouldn't like to say there is, you know, if anything, I'd say it's arguably, just looking at it, it's a bit of a Terran favored map. There's a lot of positions like this, a lot of, you know, sort of raised ledges like this, where you can park siege tanks. You can even get a siege tank in here with some Marines, and it can shell stuff over here, you know, with a medevac giving it sight and whatever. You can be annoying with siege positions on this map. Quite a few narrow chokes as well with these ramps and stuff. And in general, Zerg don't like the narrow chokes, they like the wide open spaces. So I'd say arguably it's a slightly Terran favored map in this matchup. Anyway, Tahn is going to send just a handful of Lings across the map. These are not really to cause trouble. 4 Lings before speed is done. These are just to see what's what. Cooper has got the Reaper at home now, and that is going to keep him absolutely safe and sound. Lings cannot fight a Reaper. If he was pretty determined there, he might be able to get a kill on one of the Lings, or at the very least he'd certainly be able to test Tahn's micro. You can of course keep the Ling alive by pulling it back and attacking the Reaper with the other Lings to push it away. You know, and that kind of dance backward and forward is what you'll see happening in any sort of pro level TVZ, where the Terran normally sends that first Reaper across the map to get in the Zerg's face. The Overlord was here really to see the timing of the Expo, I guess. It is unfortunate that he's not got out of there in time though, and he is going to fall. Tahn though doesn't get supply blocked, and that is a good thing to see. There are, however, 3 Overlords in production. Normally if I see 3 Overlords in production, that kind of suggests to me that somebody has massively supply blocked themselves, but Tahn hasn't. So it looks like he's opening up supply, and in general when somebody's doing that, you would expect there to be a roach warren, because Lings just don't use that much supply. You get 2 Lings for every egg. 2 Lings equals, you know, 1 supply, and yeah, so opening up that much supply, normally because roaches are supply intensive, means you're expecting a big swell of roaches, but that's not what's going to happen here. You can't really use another Overlord coming out. You can't really use that much empty supply off of just these 2 hatcheries, well 3 hatcheries now with with just Lings. And given that the lair is building and we're about to see these as well, I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe Tahn found himself with a little bit of extra minerals and thought, I'm just going to make sure I don't have to think about overlords for a while. Kupermeister, meanwhile, up to 3 racks. I was about to say it's 2 on 1, but it's actually 3 racks he's got going with double tech lab. So there's, you know, weirdly no marauders out yet. So maybe he just wants to get those quicker upgrades from the double tech lab, or maybe this is going to be a swap. Yeah, we're going to see. I'm surprised he isn't swapping the factory onto the onto this tech lab now that it has finished its upgrade, but he is going to land and build a tech lab, and we're going to see double medevac production. It doesn't look like it's marauders though, and that surprises me a little bit. Marauders of course are very, very tough units, and fare very well in general against Zerg. You'll build those marauders to help you soak up Banelings, because Banelings they just come through, they go through Marines so badly, it's painful. But Marauders tank so hard with the medevacs as well. Marauders can take a Baneling to the fist, 2 Banelings to the fist, and with medevac support they're okay. So scattering in Marauders, you can pull your Marines back behind them and the Marauders will detonate the Banelings. It also has that advantage that if you research concussive shell slows the Banelings down and gives you a chance to micro back against them. Now, with that said, Tahn doesn't have a Baneling nest, and I just, against the Terran, no Baneling nest, I find a little bit disturbing. Because what are you going to do when all the Marines in the world come at you? What are you going to do? Well, we're about to find out. The army supply is heavily in favour of Kupermeister, heavily. If we look at the income tab, that is heavily in favour of Tahn. Now this is the danger with Zerg. Zerg in general, it is a balancing act about what do you spend your larva on? Do you spend it on drones? Do you spend it on army? It's hard to get the balance right and spend it on both. The scan is going to come down. He's going to see nothing here. That's going to make him very happy. The only thing Tahn has got is Lings. These Marines have got stim, have got medevac support, have got siege tank. Now if the Lings get on top of the Marines, there will be a friendly fire effect, but my goodness, those Lings are going to disappear very quickly indeed. So Tahn needs to pull the boys here, I feel, potentially to survive this. There aren't that many queens. There's 2 queens, 2 spare queens back in those bases. Really, he needs to pull all 5 queens, get them up here. And the way to tackle these engagements, you want the queens focusing the medevacs generally to try and snipe those medevacs down. You want the Lings on top of the Marines, and you desperately need a few Ravagers. The Ravagers with those corrosive baths can just scatter the Marines. You know, you make the Terran have to work. They've either got to scatter their Marines or take the corrosive baths to the fist, scatter the Marines, and you're separating out Marines into bite-sized chunks for your roaches to gun down. Leave the Marines bunched, and the corrosive baths are going to kill them. Now the Marine numbers are beginning to thin out, but Tahn just doesn't anymore have the production to keep up. So GG.